thank you for joining us. Happy New Year. To those of you I haven't seen since the beginning of 2023, good to be with you all. I want to thank Director Clark and the Department of Public Safety, Chief Bryant and the Columbus Division of Police, Chief Happ and the Columbus Division of Fire, our partners on City Council, Chairman Remy of the Safety Committee is with us here today, and most importantly, the community. We wouldn't be able to share some of the statistics we're going to share with you today without the incredible help and support of the community. As we embark on a new year together, we wanted to pause and showcase the incredible progress of our public safety forces as they continue to fight violent crime and build a safer, more peaceful, more prosperous Columbus. Community safety is our top priority, period. But as the old saying goes, don't tell me, show me. Well, we're here today to do just that. Here's the banner headline you don't see or hear about very often. Our homicide rate, in fact, is down. It's declining and by a significant margin. Homicides in Columbus were down 33% in 2022 over 2021, and 22% lower than in 2020. That's a bigger decline than other Ohio cities and amongst many cities across the country. Homicides in Columbus have dropped more than any other top 20 city in America. This is a testament to the efforts of Director Clark, Chief Bryant, Chief Happ, our first responders, and so many others across the community. Substantially lower homicide numbers, while critically important, are not our only measure of success. We saw progress on the fronts as well. In 2022, burglaries were down, felonious assaults were down, robberies were down, rapes were down, and the solve rates and speeds in which those closure cases were solved were up. By reducing other types of crime, in addition to reducing homicides, Columbus is bucking national trends when we show robberies and thefts increasing as much as 20% in other American cities. This speaks to the strength of the comprehensive neighborhood safety strategy, which takes on violence and its root cause using a holistic approach, leveraging a broad range of prevention, intervention, and enforcement tactics. We wouldn't be here today without the hard work and diligence of our officers, our firefighters and paramedics who are doing an extraordinary job. Our police officers capturing violent criminals as well as removing their guns and getting them out of their possession, getting those guns off the street. Think about this for a second. Roughly 90% of homicides last year involved the use of a firearm. 90%. That remains on par with recent years, and it's why our officers are working so hard to rid our neighborhoods of firearms. Within the last year alone, more than 3,300 guns have been taken off the streets by Columbus police, a new record for the division. We know that we have more to do, and we'll do everything within our power to ensure the health, safety, and well-being of our residents. But we're also bringing down the violence thanks to the help of a vigilant and engaged community. It takes all of us, each in our own home, on our own street, in our own neighborhood, to make a meaningful difference. We had record numbers of tips shared by the community and coming in with the Division of Police and our first responders. That's helping us solve cases and get violent criminals off the street. So we thank the community and encourage them to continue sharing good information with our first responders. Just a few weeks ago, when a car was stolen with two babies in the back seat, this community stepped up. Everyone was on the lookout for the stolen vehicle and the children. Word spread like wildfire in the news, on social media. Without your involvement, this story could have had a very different ending. But instead, these babies were found in 2 different cities, in 2 different states. They're back with their family, and the suspect is in custody. My thanks again to Chief Bryant, her officers and detectives, the FBI, our other law enforcement partners in Ohio, Indiana, and neighboring jurisdictions. Let's keep this positive momentum going forward in 2023 and beyond. And now, to dive a bit deeper into some of the data we've discussed, it's my pleasure to introduce our police chief, Elaine Bryant.
Thank you, Mayor Ginther. Good afternoon. We have shown significant progress in 2022 in striving to make our city and our community safer. Our homicides are down 32.9%, and it's one of the biggest decreases among the top 15 cities in the country. We ended 2022 with 139 homicides. That's down from 207 in 2021, and it's 68 less homicide victims. In 2020, we had 178. That's 39 less homicide victims. But that's not the only category we are making strides in. In felony assaults, in 2022, we had 1,284. In 2021, we had 1,531. That's down 16.2%. That's 247 less victims. In rape, in 2022, we had 1,179. In 2021, we had 1,323. That's down 5%. That's 144 less rape victims. For burglaries, in 2022, we had 2,468. In 2021, we had 3,144. That's down 21.6%. That's 676 less burglaries. For robberies, in 2022, we had 1,461. In 2021, we had 2,150. That's down 32.1%. That's 689 less robberies. Our homicide detectives have worked and will continue to work exhaustively to solve homicides. In 2022, the unit closed 109 cases, 87 from 2022 and 22 from previous years, which resulted in a closure rate of 79%. This accomplishment is not only credited to our hardworking detectives, but also the supervisors and management team in that bureau, and equally important, the help from our community, our residents, and our law enforcement entities. We also renamed our Drug Crime Bureau to Organized Crime. The new Organized Crime Bureau includes all drug crimes, the ATF Task Force, the FBI Task Force, and the U.S. Marshals Task Force. This restructure increased communication and partnership between officers who might not otherwise be involved to better share information to get drugs, weapons, and criminals off the street. I want to share some of the stats from that unit, as 2022 was a record-breaking year of narcotic seizures. Fentanyl seized in 2022, 89,835 grams with a street value of over $6 million. Fentanyl seized in 2021 was 38,122 grams. For this year, for 2022, cocaine seized 63,707 grams with a street value of almost $3 million. Methamphetamine seized in 2022, 126,522 grams with a street value of over $4 million. In fact, our Columbus police officers confiscated a record number of illegal guns this year. In 2022, we seized, as the mayor stated, 3,356 guns off the streets. That's roughly 9 guns a day, and it's up from 3,085 guns in 2021. While violent crime is down, we are seeing areas of concern. Car thefts are surging in cities all over the country, including right here in Columbus. In 2022, there were 7,785 motor vehicle thefts. That's up almost 22%. In 2021, there were 6,110 motor vehicle thefts. That's 1,675 more motor vehicle thefts. Out of those 7,785 motor vehicle thefts for 2022, 45% were Kias and Hyundais. But it's not just Columbus that saw an increase in motor vehicle thefts, specifically to Kias and Hyundais. There was an increase in Los Angeles, California, Chicago, Cleveland, just to name some of the cities. Individuals participating in this trend call themselves the Kia Boys and are primarily juveniles that are committing other crimes in conjunction, including armed robberies, aggravated assaults, and homicides. We are working with our community partners, the judicial system, outside law enforcement entities, and the city to address these issues. The Division of Police has undertaken several initiatives to reduce crime. We successfully completed several operations throughout 2022. These operations included Safe Streets, 2 Operation Wheels Down, 4 Operation Unities, 3 Operation Broken Windows, and 1 Operation Turn Up the Heat. These initiatives were all proactive policing efforts aimed at responding to our residents' concerns throughout the city. My vision for 2023 is to continue these operations, expand upon them, and continue to work in partnership with the community. This past year, we also held several big events throughout the city that we hadn't seen since the pandemic. We welcomed back Pride, Juneteenth celebrations, Red, White, and Boom, Pelotonia, Columbus Marathon, and Columbus Arts Festival. Thanks to the work done by our personnel, sworn and civilian, and the community, these events and several others concluded with no major crime-related issues. But it's not just the big events that were successful in the community. The Division of Police hosted other community events aimed at strengthening our relationships with the residents we serve, which also helps to reduce crime. These events included a Valentine's Day dinner and dance with residents of a local senior community facility, summer picnics, our first ever trunk or treat, our second annual turkey giveaway, our second annual Crammer Cruiser toy drive, and Shop with a Cop. We have already scheduled these events to continue this year while introducing our path for community involvement. The Police Athletic League, in partnership with Parks and Recs, was reinitiated in 2022. We are also working to bring back the Citizens Police Academy, the reserves, and increase the membership in the Chaplain Corps. I do want to publicly acknowledge a few of our community partners without whom we could not have accomplished all we set out to do. Thank you to the NAACP, the Columbus Urban League, Stonewall Columbus, Mothers of Murdered Columbus Children, We Are Linden, Public Safety, which includes our Columbus Fire and Support Services, all Columbus City Departments under the direction of Mayor Ginther, our City Council and the City Attorney's Office, our clergy, our community activists, our community, including local businesses and our residents, and all local, state, and federal law enforcement entities. While we have made progress, we will not rest on that. We will continue to work tirelessly to improve public safety, to increase community engagement, and to address quality of life issues for our community and our residents. Thank you. Speaking of community partners, I'm going to bring up Chief Happ right now.
Thank you, Chief Bryant, Mayor Ginther, Councilmember Remy. Thank you for inviting me to this great day. At its best, public safety is a collaboration. That means agencies partnering with each other to reach out and find a common goal. It means listening to and working with our residents to find solutions together. And it means knocking down barriers and silos to try things that haven't been done before. The Right Response Unit is a prime example of this. The Right Response Unit is so proudly working together with police and with Columbus Public Health that it just makes me feel so good, the partnerships that we're continually making every single day. This unit, which embeds licensed social workers in our 911 center, helps our neighbors in need to get the services that are best suited to their situation. And it has shown results that has benefited our first responders and, mostly importantly, the residents we serve. Since it began its pilot program in June 2021, the Right Response Unit has fielded more than 2,800 calls for service. These are calls with a mental health component that in the past we might have sent police or fire to respond. Sometimes that wasn't the best answer, but it was an option the only option we had. Now we have the benefit of highly trained clinicians to answer these calls and to work with the caller to determine their needs and how we can best help them. Through these expertise, the Right Response Unit personnel were able to resolve more than 800 calls for service that did not require a police response. These include mental health calls where other services were needed. This saved patrol officers more than 1,100 hours, valuable time that they were able to spend focusing on emergency response and crime prevention. For calls for service that do not require a police response, the Right Response Unit prioritized sending the Mobile Crisis Response Unit, which pairs a crisis intervention trained officer with a mental health condition. And in hundreds of cases, Right Response personnel were able to help de-escalate callers before the police arrived. Less than 1/10 of 1% of the calls involving the Right Response Unit resulted in an arrest, and there were 0 uses of force by officers on any event involving the Right Response Unit. These kinds of cross-departmental alternative responses programs don't fit the traditional model of public safety, but we are seeing positive results every single day. We are committed to building on what works, and as long as I'm chief, the Columbus Division Fire will stand ready to collaborate to increase safety and improve the quality of life for the community we serve. Now, please welcome City Council Public Safety Chair Emmanuel Remy.
Good afternoon. Happy New Year. And thank you to Chief Happ, Chief Bryant, Mayor Ginther, and thank you to our residents and the partners that have stood with us to say enough is enough. My name is Emmanuel Remy, and I'm proud to chair the Public Safety Committee on behalf of Columbus City Council. I'm excited to join everyone here today to talk about the notable decrease in crime. The top issue that our residents express to us every single day on Columbus City Council continues to be public safety. The residents of Columbus have the right to feel safe in our streets and in our community. I'm encouraged by the 2022 crime stats as we strive to provide the right response on each and every call. Each program we add to the city's portfolio helps reduce crime. I also continue to see areas of improvement to lower these stats in 2023 and beyond. We are working hard to build out the following: a real-time crime center. In 2023, funding for 911 call taker classes and dispatcher classes, police and fire classes. We will continue providing millions of dollars for summer and after-school programs in 2023 that help get our youth engaged and out of crime's way. We're going to increase funding for alternative crisis response programs. Again, it's important that we take the time today to acknowledge the great work of the Columbus Division of Fire, the Columbus Division of Police expressly, Chief Bryant and her team, and the collaboration that's occurring within public safety in our community to accomplish the decline in crime. While we are seeing progress, we cannot let our guard down. We need to continue to strengthen our collaboration internally and with you, the community. As we finalize the 2023 operating budgets in upcoming weeks, I am determined and committed to work with Mayor Ginther, Chief Bryant, Chief Happ, and my colleagues at Columbus City Council and our entire community to create, fund, and continue to support programs and initiatives that reduce crime. Thank you very much, and now I'll turn the floor back over to Mayor Ginther.
Thank you, Councilmember, and thanks for your advocacy for our first responders. Mayors can propose whatever they want, but council has to appropriate. And Councilmember Remy and council members have stood with us and continue to make investments, not just in additional classes, but additional resources and innovative approaches that have seen great results. We've come a long way. But this is not a victory lap, and we are not resting on our laurels. We will not rest, and I will not yield until we are the safest big city in America. We're not there yet. But it is important for us to take a moment to recognize some of the great success we've seen in 2022, and particularly lift up our police officers, our firefighters, our paramedics, those that are on the front lines. Thank the community for stepping up to continue to share information and to partner. I think in large part that is because both the Division of Police and Fire are becoming more community-facing and more engaged in the community, building trust, restoring trust with some and building trust with others. That's helping with tips and information, collaboration, and partnership. A 33% reduction in homicides is no small feat. Neither is seeing a simultaneous drop in burglaries, assaults, robberies, and rapes. But there's more work to be done. Even a single homicide is too many. And we cannot move forward without fully acknowledging the sadness, the pain, the trauma of our neighbors who have lost loved ones. I've talked with them, I've been with them, heard their stories. We owe it to them to be vigilant and to double down on our efforts to make our community safer and healthier. Their burden is great. It's heavier than so many of us will ever understand or could imagine. And that's why we owe it to them and to the memories of those lost to make our community safer. Each of us can and should do more to confront and prevent the violence in our communities. Keep tabs on your loved ones. Know where your children are at all times and know who they are with. Folks oftentimes ask me about a curfew. I'm a big believer in curfews. We have one in our house, and I think everybody should have one in theirs. Create the conditions for a safe and vibrant future in your homes and in your families. At the same time, we'll continue to build bridges between our officers and the public. We'll continue to invest in the most innovative, creative, and effective ways to bring down violence and make our city the safest it can be. We're not there yet, but we will be. And with your help, I'm confident we'll continue to move in the right direction. Be happy to take any questions from you. Yes.
Hi, Mayor Ginther. We've seen a huge rise, we saw a decrease in homicides, but teens being involved in crime. Do you guys have any numbers or figures or can speak to that? And I know also for Chief Bryant, when you first got here, having resources and opportunities to distract some of those teens. How is that going as far as making progress on those resources?
Well, we've been very thoughtful and deliberate about investing in young people. I still remain convinced the folks who have been overwhelmingly, disproportionately negatively impacted by the pandemic has been our young people. And that's why we've spent a good amount of our rescue plan dollars on youth services and programming, not just during the summer, but in after-school programming as well as work opportunities for young people. We're going to continue to invest in job readiness, the Voice program that's in a partnership with our health systems, continue to invest in TAPS program that it does incredibly important work with middle schoolers throughout our city. As the chief mentioned, the POW program, other things that we're doing, because we really have to have this comprehensive approach. It takes prevention, intervention, and enforcement, and that's why we were seeing some of the success we're seeing. But we're going to have to continue to invest in our young people. I envision restorative investments into young people for the next several years to get them to where they need to be. Chief, did you want to add anything to that?
You talked specifically about, do we have any stats regarding juveniles? So juveniles accounted for 10% of all victims during this year. With the addition of those 18 to 21 individuals, 21 and under accounted for 33% of our homicide victims in 2022. That represents a roughly 9% increase from 2021.
Do you have the stats on the suspects, on teen suspects as well? Or juvenile, those under 21?
Juveniles accounted for 12% of our identified suspects during this year.
homicides, or was that all of them?
That's homicides.
And does that include do you have the 21 and under statistic as well?
In 2021, those percentages were, I can get those for you at a later time as far as the suspects.
What about car thefts? Do we have that for juveniles, the statistic?
So I will tell you that I have a team. As you can see, these people sitting here. You have the commander dinner. He's from homicide. You have Deputy Chief Weir. You have Assistant Chief Bacher, First Assistant Chief Potts, and the people hiding in the back of the room. Commander Haley, Deputy Chief Becker. I see Commander Sagal. So we do this collectively. So when it comes to specifically car thefts, I'm going to bring up Commander Mabry. You're hiding too. Come on up. He's been working very closely and he's very in tune with what's going on. So I'm going to let him speak to that.
Can you also say your name and spell it for us?
My name is Dwayne Mabry, Duane Mabry, and I'm a commander on Zone 5. But previously, I was in property crimes. And for the last 2 years, we've worked on a project. First, we started with Game Over for about a year, and then we switched over to Kia Boys. Two completely different groups, about 70 kids in that first group with Game Over, 71 in Kia Boys. About 50 of those are our target kids. And so, we really focused on this because one of the things we said is these are gateway crimes, these stolen cars. And we clearly saw, we peaked out in the summer. Those numbers were really high, but we ended the year with 22%. So we look at the pattern. We saw around April, we saw a spike when the Kia Boys trend went nationwide. We saw it again in July. We saw some enforcement efforts. Parents shortly after that. You all reported on it regularly, and we've seen a great dive down on those numbers to end the year out with stolen cars. The issue is these kids transition, and we said before at the beginning of the year that the Kia Boys group was more violent, and so we've actually seen that carry out sadly, and I think we're going to talk later about those numbers, but the amount of violence that these kids have turned to in that group is shocking, and so that's one of the things we've seen with the juvenile crime, and it all starts with stolen cars, and that's why we have put such an emphasis on dealing with property crimes before we got that far. Lacey.
Can you imagine a year ago when we started talking about the Kia Boys that for the city would be over 7,000 car thefts for the year?
I'm actually, one of the things that's surprising for me is when we talked back in July, those numbers were really astronomical. What's changed is when we did enforcement efforts along with the community engagement, listen, we tried some things that were outside the box. We had this meeting with the parents and the NAACP and all the sources of the city. And really, from that meeting on, when we engaged the parents and the juvenile judges got to see these parents face-to-face, name-to-name, we saw a nosedive on those numbers. Now, with car theft numbers. But still, we have some kids in here, and we've seen some recent incidents that some kids aren't going to make it through this. And we predicted early on that some kids are going to die out of this, and we've seen that happen. And that's heartbreaking. We've got to do something different, and we're going to work on different things. So the success we've seen is this community engagement and getting other people on board with other resources.
So what is the answer as far as turning that stat around so it decreases, like the homicide levels have decreased, to drop that level in car thefts, especially amongst the youth?
As we talked about, it's going to be important for us to be proactive, but it's not just a police issue. This is a community issue. So we're going to have to work collectively, not only with our judicial system, not only with our other city entities, to try to get to these kids before it gets to that point so that we can do the prevention like the mayor talked about. But then the kids that are on that bubble, the ones that are kind of thinking about it, that are in that circle, we got to get to them. We got to offer more youth programs. There's so many things that we have to do, but it's not just about the police. It's about the entire community, including the media. We all have to get on board and make sure that we're putting that message out, understanding that what we're looking at is that trend across the nation. We're not going to settle for it. We know the answer isn't necessarily locking everyone up and throwing away the key, but sometimes that answer isn't also sending them back home, letting them walk out the door and walk through the back door and go back home. We have to find that medium, find a way to be able to reach them and get them to understand that this is going to affect the rest of their lives, because you got to think, a lot of those kids are in that moment of, this is where I'm living right now. They don't think about their future. They don't think about the consequences going down the road. So we want to make sure that we try to get to them, show them, mentor them that they can have a future, that they can go to college, that they can get trade jobs, that they can join the police department, but they can't do those things if they continue down this path.
I do want to give some kudos to the chief of the team, and I think maybe you were on the call with some mayors of cities around the country, around the Kia Boys and stuff. I mean, the things that our division of police are doing are getting great notice. And cities across the country, St. Louis, Detroit, other places around Ohio and the country are really taking a look at what we've been doing here under the leadership of Chief Bryan and her team, and really proud of some of the innovative things they're doing that are getting recognized nationally and being put into practice in other cities around the country.
Hearing this.
Chief, you talked about the record number of guns that have been seized in 2022, and looking at the last 2 years, we've had more than 6,000 guns taken off the street. What does that say to you that we have a record number of guns that people have? Do they not feel safe, that they feel they need to carry a gun?
Well, a lot of these guns are illegal, so what it says to me is that we need better gun laws. That's what it says to me. We need better control of that as well. So a lot of these aren't necessarily guns that are legal or people are carrying for safety. Some of these guns are illegal guns. A lot of them are guns that have been altered. Those guns. So we have to look at what that says about our community and what we need to do and how we need to push, like the mayor has been doing tremendously, to increase our gun legislation and to try to figure out how do we keep these guns out of our young people's hands. We also encourage the community to do a better job at locking up their guns and storing their guns so that people can't get a hold of them. That's important too, because a lot of our gun thefts have come from vehicles. So we're asking the community, if you have a gun, please don't leave it in your vehicle. Put it somewhere in a safe place that someone can't get a hold of it.
I think it shines a light too, Bethany, on the incredible work that's been done by law enforcement and fire in the face of probably the most reckless and dangerous gun policy this state has ever had. When you look at permitless carry, stand your ground, I mean, I don't know why we're surprised. We let an assault weapons ban expire in 2004. We have a proliferation of guns on city streets, in our neighborhoods, across America, and then somehow or another we're shocked that there's an increase in violence, and that our officers, our firefighters and paramedics who are on these calls for service are facing life and death situations themselves. When you choose to stand with criminals and extremists and stand against police officers, firefighters, and prosecutors, why would you be surprised? But in the wake of all that, our officers and first responders have done an incredible job. It has never been more dangerous to do their jobs based on this reckless and dangerous gun policy at the state level.
I was just going to ask, for a year we've been hearing community needs to work together, all the organizations need to work together in regards to the Kia thefts and the cars being stolen, but yet the numbers are still high. Is there anything this year that you have coming down the pike, something new, something different to attack that? And have you been meeting, as you said, talking with other cities who are in the same problem? Are you all working together to come up with a solution?
Well, I think as you just heard, they actually are going down dramatically from where they were earlier in the year because of the great leadership. So, you know, I think we're going to continue to work on those things and partnerships. And we've got to have other people in the community step up. You know, our judges, our prosecutors, our partners in the community need to step up. And we need some of these car manufacturers and makers to be held accountable too. I mean, you're not seeing Chevys and Fords seeing these dramatic increases in car thefts. So what is it that Hyundai and Kia could be doing differently and potentially retrofitting vehicles to make them less likely to be used, as we've said, a real dangerous gateway into more violent crime? Chief, do you want to, anything else you want to?
I have one question. To the person young person, we can say, who grew up around crime, unfortunately, knows no different, now is getting there and thinks that crime's the answer, not necessarily the kids who can be involved in these youth leagues. What are your plans for this year to get through to these people and show them that crime is not the answer?
Well, there are a variety of things. As we said, there's prevention, intervention, and then ultimately enforcement. And as we continue to implement our group violence intervention effort under the leadership of renowned criminologist David Kennedy, continue to build out our crisis response, alternative crisis response with the Adam H. Crisis Center that's opening in 2024. We think that will free up even more resources for us to really do some more intensive interventions with folks that are at risk or, to your point, maybe are starting down the wrong path, that we have a chance to get them on the right path. But ultimately, if they're choosing a life of crime and they're committing violent crimes in our community, enforcement may be the only option. And then we need help from prosecutors and judges to make sure we keep violent criminals off the street.
Do you feel like that's working well?
So we also have to look at our school system as well. So we're going to be more intentional about getting into the school systems and ensuring that we're doing programming to address those kids. Some of them that aren't even on our radar yet, that may be on that bubble, that are doing things. So we have the TAPS program already. We're going to try to expand on that. But we're also looking at bringing other programs like the Brotherhood and Sisterhood, where we're addressing the older kids that went through the TAPS program, where they can then be fed into the Brotherhood and Sisterhood program. We can help them with college applications. We can mentor them. We can take them on trips. We can take them to college visits. We want to be able to show them that there is another way, that there's a different life. You know, sometimes it's just simply about them not being exposed and understanding that they can have a different life. So our intention is to try to do more youth programming. Hopefully with PAL, we'll be able to reach out to more kids as they join the different programs that PAL will have as well.
Does that mean bringing back the SRO program?
At this point, we don't have any conversation about bringing back the SRO program. We've had conversations in the past with the former superintendent, so that's a conversation that we would have to have with the new superintendent.
To speak to motor vehicle thefts again, and is this something with the Kias and Hyundais that you expect to be a perennial issue? You know, students get out of school for the summer and it's less supervision, they turn into automobile thefts as the next generation graduates?
So obviously, that is our concern, to make sure that we're giving the kids something to do in the summer. That's why we're creating more programs. That's why we're trying to create job situations for them so they can do that. And understanding that some parents, they aren't simply neglectful. Some of them are working. They're working 2, 3, 4 jobs to try to keep food on the table for their children. So what can we do as a community to try to alleviate that and wrap our arms around those children as well and not give them so much idle time? So that's part of our strategy and initiative, to be able to create more programs so that we can involve them. Just like we did with Red, White, and Boom this year. In 2022, we had a youth area. So we wanted to be able to give them an opportunity to play basketball, to do 3-on-3, to listen to a DJ, to dance. So we just wanted to engage them instead of just having them just walk around, give them something to do.
I have a question for either Commander Denner, DC Weir, or Assistant Chief Bacher. The actual, for the solve rates, how many of the homicides this year have been solved? Because I know you guys are calculating a little bit differently. Or Chief Bryant, I'm sorry, if you want to as well. And what do you attribute, if there has been an increase in the homicides this year that have been solved, what do you attribute that to?
So I can answer that. We've solved 109 total, 87 from this year, 2022, and 22 from previous years. So we have seen an increase even with that number in the solve rate. So in 2021, the solve rate was, I have that. In 2021, the solve rate was, where's that paper? 48% in year. This year, it's 63% in year. So we're looking at an almost 16% increase in the solve rate. And I attribute that, again, like I said, to not only the fact that we revamped the way that we do our homicides, and we have the team concept, but we have case reviews, our management, our leadership team. They're working very hard to ensure that those cases are being followed through. The community engagement is huge. The tips that we've been getting, people wanting to be involved in the tips that we've been getting, not only through social media, but through phone calls. So that's just a accumulation of all those things that I think that is increasing our closure rate.
Can you speak on the young man's case, 13, last name Reed, over in Hilltop? I know that his family has been really kind of asking for justice, and he said that you guys kind of closed the case regarding it being standard or self-defense. Can you kind of give us a little bit more on that case?
So what I can tell you is that the case is not closed. We're continuing to investigate it. He was arrested. The suspect was arrested. There was a subsequent meeting with the prosecutor's office, and there was a self-defense claim that came up. And based on the information that was given, they made the determination at that time not to pursue the charges, but the case is not closed by any means. We're still waiting for key forensic evidence and ballistic evidence, and there will be a package that will be submitted, but ultimately that's up to the prosecutor's office to make that determination.
All right, last question. Okay.
That works too.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Chief. Appreciate you.
I know.
Thank you, Chief.
I'm glad you didn't like take a sudden back.
Good things are coming.